I guess it's more than just me doing it with my friends. And that was also around the time when I like YouTubed how to rap better than your friends. Like,
Oh, wow. You
I
know, there's
learned,
videos for everything.
I
That
put,
had to be come up.
I learned everything from YouTube.
Right on, Wiz. Well, my name's Adam, and this podcast is about you, your journey in music, and we'll talk about the new EP you just released as well.
Nice to meet you, Adam. Thank you for having me.
Of course. You moved around quite a bit from what I read. Born in born in South Africa, and then you moved to Germany, and now you're in Toronto.
Yeah, quite all over the place.
Okay, so
right now I'm currently in Berlin. Actually, I've been here.
okay.
Yeah,
so you're in Berlin now. Right on.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about how you got all over the place. So you're born in South Africa. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yes. Well, I was born in Cape Town, 1999, and then quickly after I moved with my mom and my brother to Germany, Lüneburg, small town.
Okay.
And and since then I've been visiting Cape Town like every year instead of in COVID, visiting my dad over there. So yeah, that's my home.
Right on. How long were you in Cape Town before you moved to Germany?
2 years.
Oh, okay. So you're
Oh
super
yeah.
young.
So yeah, super young, super young. But
Okay.
over the years I saw, I grew up with a year distance, I guess, every year. Grew up there. Yeah.
Because you'd go there, travel back and forth between Germany and South Africa or in
Exactly.
Cape Town. Okay. Well, what's that? I mean, that must be such a culture shock between the two countries, I would imagine.
Yes, and also no, just because like Cape Town always feels like home. Like every time I touch down there, I just get this like immense grounding feeling. Because like although I didn't grow up there, like I didn't like went to kindergarten, school. There's just like I just believe like the place like where you're born, there's like some spiritual connection to you as a human. So it just feels like home every time I touch down.
Right on, right on.
Yeah.
When did you get into music?
When I got into music, when I was like 15 years old, I think. Yeah, I started rapping around then. Yeah.
And prior to that, just a avid fan of music, listening, or
Just a fan. Like the funny thing is how I got into music was through filmmaking, actually. Like my background is in photography and filmmaking, and I made music videos like from the age of probably like 12 or 13 to 15. And when I shot my first music video, I remember it was for this German rapper in my hometown in Lüneburg. I remember watching him like dance in his like to his own song, and I was like, that's the coolest thing ever. And ever since then, I just like that seed got planted. Like I remember back then I was like, I can't rap, I can't, but like, but that was like the seed that started it all. So it's funny. And after then I just did everything I could to be in front of the camera instead of behind it.
What drew you to photography and film in the beginning? Do you remember?
Boredom. That's honestly, I think boredom is the root of all curiosity. And for me, I came across like my creative expression. Like my mom had like, one of those old DSLR cameras. And so I picked that up, took pictures, and then I quickly became like the family's like vacation photographer. Like we would like sit around after it's like at the dinner table, and we would like do like these shows of the pictures, and I would always carry a camera. So yeah, that's how it first started.
And then you just started meeting people, your friends. Like, how did you get involved with shooting music videos?
That was like that rapper that I met. It was funny because I was just doing videos for myself, and I was doing like fake music videos. Or like when we would be in Cape Town, like I would just give my brother the camera, and I was like a huge Kid Ink fan around that time. And we would do like remake music videos of the Kid Ink song. Like we would go locations. I'd pretend I'll be the rapper, and so I would always edit the videos, And so then there was a time in Lüneburg where I saw this rapper post like a video on Facebook, and I was like, I could do that way better than him, like it was his first music video. And so I reached out to a couple of people that I knew that knew him. And then I met him at a gym, and then I was like, yo, I shoot music videos. I can do a better job than whoever did your first video. And then I shot a couple videos for him until he got signed. So I also saw like the whole process from like doing street videos to him then getting recognition from like some industry people here in Germany. He got signed, I got dropped, and I could focus on my music.
You got dropped from the project?
Just like
shooting his
because
videos?
he could have like budget videos, and I wasn't good enough to like live up to a big budget video. And it was, you know, it was yeah, very mutual. So it was like a good fit. And I was focused.
You're fairly young at the time too. I mean, you said you're what, between 13 and 15?
Yeah. I was like 14, 15 at the time or so when he got signed. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, was he older, like much older than you, or same age as you?
Yeah, I think 3 years, 2 or 3 years older than me. Yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering, I'm just picturing like you showing up to the gym where he's at to talk to him about the video and being like, yeah, man, whoever shot your video sucks or whatever. And like, you're like way younger than this guy. And he's probably like, what? Oh, okay. And then just like having that, just being a fly on the wall in that conversation would be probably pretty entertaining.
Yeah. The funny thing about like that gym situation was that I had just started my membership, and I was very ambitious when I went to the gym. I thought I was. And so I got like I think it was like a 1 year or 6 month membership because it's cheaper.
Right,
if you
right.
use it.
Go all in, right.
I went 3 times. But one of those times was like, you know, meeting
you
that
scored
rapper.
the gig, right?
Yeah, so it was worth it.
Good, it paid for itself. Yeah. That's hilarious. That's so funny how that is. It's like they tie you into like the full year. Like if you buy 2 years and then after it's January 5th or whatever, you're like, all right, I'm gonna get the whole life thing together. It's a new year, and then 2-3 weeks in, you're I got better things to do.
Yeah. I think it's set up by them that way. Like I feel like they can sell those memberships so easily because like it sells on motivation and on like commitment to a better self, but they know that only maybe like 25% of the people follow through, which means they'll still have space for new people coming, you know?
Oh, right. Yeah. They probably sell capacity like in the first month, and they're like, right. Well, nobody's going to be showing up within,
exactly
by March.
Yeah. They'll just double book the gym, just like they double book flights, you know?
Yeah, that's so funny. Okay, so once you decided to go in front of the camera, like how did you then get the courage to start writing, rap songs and stuff? Was that something you had already, were you like big into creative writing prior to that, or trying to write poetry or anything?
Honestly, it was a very, I don't know, I would call it a simple transition on me getting into rap. It was a very realistic approach. I was just talking about it the other day, and it's basically, it was me and my friend Shaq. We were in my room and we were like just listening to some rap songs, and I asked him like, how did all these like rappers start out? Like they had to be trash at some point, right? Mm-hmm. And so basically my thesis or idea was that like everyone had to be trash, so let me be trash right now. And we just like, downloaded a beat from YouTube and then like freestyled on it, and we shot a video that same day just because I had a camera and the whole setup. And then I fell in love with the whole like playing a character and creating your own world. You could say whatever you wanted to, At that time I was very big into just lying, like outright lying about my life and how cool I was or the things in my life. Like I just thought that was like really dope, like that you could just rap anything, and because of a rap beat it can be true for you, whoever listens,
Mm-hmm. So you just like kind of write stories.
Yeah. It's just cool, just like basic cool stuff that you can imagine like a 15-year-old rapping about when he's very influenced by American rap,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you did that for a while, and then like what kind of like how did you get then to Toronto? Was that the next move?
I mean, bunch of chapters in between, but
okay. Well, tell me about this. Yeah, let's keep going down the line here. I wasn't sure how quickly that became.
So I think like just how I transformed as an artist, or how I got closer to what I wanted to do with the music, was that I came across Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. maybe a year into rapping or so. And I was just like, I remember watching the swimming pools music video for the first time. And I was just so amazed by like the theme and the topic, what he like rapped about, that peer pressure, you know, like not wanting to give in to that and just being like so conscious. Like I never heard conscious rap before that. And that really gave me goosebumps for several reasons. I mean, for one, you know, because Kendrick is like the greatest at writing and putting his feelings down. And ever since that and digging into J. Cole's music, my goal has been and still is to like put down my feelings as accurately as possible into the music, which was like just a general goal when I approached writing music, and which I still have. And that kind of got me closer to then like who WizTheMc became, you know? And I realized, oh, like, and then I started writing songs and I discovered like all these like emotions that I wouldn't talk about. Cause like if you're 16 years old, you know, and you just have like kind of like guys you hang out with, you know, at least I didn't have those type of conversations about, you know, who I'm in love with, what I'm thinking about when I'm alone, feeling the peer pressure, wanting to, I don't know, live a more conscious life, wanting to meditate, like stuff I was into at that time. And so I had like music became, you know, my tunnel of expressing everything that I couldn't with the people around me, you know, so it became like my best friend, you know, like writing those things down.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be vulnerable with a group of guy friends. You're not going to be like, yeah, let's I'll sit around and talk about our feelings. So
right. At 16, you know, maybe nowadays.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah, but yeah, at 16 when you're in high school, like no way, right?
yeah.
Was it hard to then, like, once you're coming up with the stuff at home, and then when you had to translate it, like, when did you start being like, okay, I'm going to put this into song, or was that all kind of together within that same time period?
It was, well, I started freestyling like for a good year or year and a half. I would like refuse to write. Like my friends would be like, oh, you should like start writing. And I was like, no, like I'll just freestyle, you know, because they also have examples of like, you know, Lil Wayne or other people just like, yo, I just freestyle. So that was kind of like how I thought about myself in the early years when like I've really rapped really trash, but my flow was good. Like I think that was something I actually had talent from the beginning. And so like my flow always felt better when I was freestyling, but then I saw the value in writing things down because I could think about the next rhyme. I could like think about the story, you know, and then, you know, by like, I don't know, year 2 or so, I started just putting stuff on SoundCloud and, you know, yeah.
Okay. So like I mean, just freestyling off was that just something you would do with your friends? Like you decided, hey, like I could freestyle. So you just started kind of doing it. And then you just kind of grew this, like persona as like the guy that can rap at school.
Kind of not in school. In school, I was just the class clown. Like I didn't introduce the rap me up until late into school. Cause I don't know.
Okay.
But it's funny when you ask like that persona of being the kid who raps or freestyles, because so I started rapping at the end of 2014. In the summer of 2015, I was like me and my friends, like the No Homes, we would always meet in my room and we would like smoke weed and freestyle and rap, you know? And we did that the whole summer of 2015. And then after that summer, everyone kind of went back to their lives. And I just found myself like later that year writing music. And I just like looked up and I was like, oh, I guess I like this. You know, I guess it's more than just me doing it with my friends. And that was also around the time when I like YouTubed how to rap better than your friends. Like,
oh, wow. You know, there's videos for everything that had to be come up.
I learned everything from YouTube. It's like, it's so crazy. Like, I put that in and then I followed the instructions. Like I would listen to this guy who would like teach you how to freestyle, how to get like infinite words and all this trippy stuff until I was the kid who rapped better than their friends, you know? And yeah.
And then how'd you find beats to put under the songs, or were you writing those yourself?
YouTube, all type beats, like anything I was into, I'd put Tiger type beat, I'd do Young Thug type beat, I'd do, you know, J. Cole type beat, like, yeah.
And then you started putting these songs up on SoundCloud?
SoundCloud, YouTube. In 2016, I put out like my first music video, opened my Facebook page. Like I was fully committed, you know, like I remember like making the plan end of 2015. I was like, 2016, I want to start it. I forced my brother to shoot the music videos for me. And yeah. And that's when I put the stuff out. And then even like on I found TuneCore where you can, upload stuff to Spotify and the rest. And like I kind of illegally uploaded songs because I didn't pay for the beats, which I only realized later when but got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, when you're young and you're first starting out, you probably wouldn't know that. You have to, pay the people that wrote the beat, and then getting it all cleared and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so at this point, are you still in Germany when all this is happening?
All in Germany. Yeah.
Okay. And so you're releasing songs on SoundCloud, and do you get some traction that way, or like how do you end up in Toronto?
No traction on the SoundCloud stuff. I think the highest views I had back then was like maybe 90 streams on SoundCloud. And when I felt like my music was getting heard, it's funny. It was in this one class. My crush at the time, she was a longtime school crush. She said that she like saw my music on SoundCloud. Like a friend must have told her that I rap. But I would, I wasn't the rap persona. Like, so I was like kind of geeking out, I was like, just like, I saw that stuff. And it was like really trash freestyle. So I thought like, that's dope, like my crush that I rap, like, so maybe that's some points,
Sure.
But no, it was like, I was like uploading to SoundCloud for like 2 years, then YouTube for 2 or 3 years. And then I went to Toronto after high school, which the story is so odd. Like I sometimes don't believe it when people ask me like, why Toronto, like, because it makes sense looking at it, Toronto is a big city, lots of music. But the reason why I went to Toronto was really like, I had money saved up for a trip after high school and I found a cheap flight. Like I literally like one day I was just sitting in my room because I knew I was going to plan a trip and I thought of Canada. So I Googled Canada and then I saw Toronto, the city looked like super hype. And so I just checked the flights, how you do if you're kind of planning for something. And then I saw a round trip for like $450 and I was like, okay, I'll book it. And yeah.
So you went to Toronto as just like a vacation type, like holiday after school?
It was kind of just like, it was a 2-month trip that I planned.
Okay.
And I was inspired by 2 of my close friends who took trips after school. Like one went to Jamaica and one went to, I think, Brazil or so, like alone. And they were like, they came back and were like enlightened, basically. They were like, if you can go somewhere outside of this country, ideally outside this continent, and travel alone, because like they just really found themselves in a different way. So I was like, I was in. And so Toronto was that for me. And and then after,
you fly back to Germany at this point. Did you have that experience too? I'm curious.
So we'll get to that.
Okay. I'm jumping ahead of myself here.
No, I'm just remembering because like I haven't told the full story in a bit. Well, I'll tell you like the part where I arrived in Toronto. So I was living in this hostel. I had a hostel booked for 3 days. I don't know what, like I had a 2-month trip and I had the hostel booked for 3 days. I was like, I guess, I don't know. And on the third day, I knew, okay, on the second day, I knew, okay, after tomorrow, I don't have a place to stay. I couldn't extend the hostel because it was like summer was booming. Every hostel was full, And so I go outside with my camera at the time. And I was like, let's see who I meet today, And I walked down the street of the hostel and I see these like slightly older guys like play basketball on the street. And I have a background in basketball. So I was like, yo, you guys trying to play basketball or whatever? And they said like, no, they were just like dribbling and I don't know, fooling around on the street. And then my entrepreneurial spirit came up and I had my camera and I took pictures of them. I was like, look, like check the pictures. They were like, oh, that's dope. Like we're from the States. Like they were in college basketball. They were like you could like, then one guy was like, do you want to shoot like our games, like shoot some content for our games? I was like, bet, and then he gave me his number. And before I was like about to take off, he was like, do you smoke? Do you smoke weed? And I was like, yeah. And then, so I go with them and I smoked my very first blunt, like backwood blunt with them. And I moved in the next day with them. And
that's awesome.
and I also just had to like start a good relationship with one of the guys, JT from Chicago. And so he yeah, we became friends. I had like my whole mic set up. So yeah, it was beautiful because I could live there for free because I shot the content. Like I kind of made a deal with the coach. So I would like shoot their games and edit stuff for them so that I could live there for free. And that was kind of like my first month in Toronto, you know? So already there were like signs that kept me in the city, you know? And I felt, yeah, some sort of support.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, like welcomed there. And so you were there for a couple months and doing this basketball thing, shooting stuff,
Yeah.
and then you had your mic there, so you're recording songs as well.
And yeah, and I was recording stuff and shooting music videos. You know, took that guy JT out, and he would shoot music videos for me. We would have like we recorded a whole mixtape together in that month. You know, like I was doing everything I possibly could. You know, to just get my face and name out there. And then as the time passed, I got kicked out of that Airbnb after they left back to America. And then I was alone and I only knew like 3 people, and I called 2 up, they didn't answer. And the third guy was someone I met like a couple of days earlier who ran this theater in Toronto, and he had like an artist house. And so I hit him up and I was like, can I like stay at your place for a bit? I just got kicked out of this place. And he was like, sure. And I moved in and I ended up getting like a super cheap room for like 300 Canadian bucks. And I made music from there. And there were like a bunch of artists in that house. And I ended up staying like for 4 months in that house. Just because it was like so cheap, like there was like no reason to leave. And I had like a 6-month like visa for that time. And I knew by the end of the 6 months, like I have to come back. Like I learned like the guy who I lived with, like he taught me how to like poster and promote my shows. And so I would poster the city in Toronto. And that's a whole another aspect of the whole thing. I'm going on a tangent, but like
no. So you were playing shows and everything there too. So what you started building like a fan base for yourself in Toronto.
Yeah, well the part about that is like there were no fans. Well, I would market myself, and I would sit on the porch like of this little theater where I would have like my show set up, and there would like weeks on weeks no one would show up. Sometimes like one person would show up with like a beer in their hand, and they saw the poster around the corner. They were like, let me check it out, you know? And the thing, like my mentor, the guy who ran that house, he gave me very good advice. He was like, never undervalue your art. Like my entry price was $20, you know, and no one knew me. Like $20 is like a regular concert if you think about it, you know?
Right.
Because he was like, if you put $5, people think it's not worth it. Like if they would come, they think like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to pay attention or whatever, or they don't come at all, you know? And so he said, don't make it too cheap. Like make it a price where when they come in, they have expectations, meaning you have to deliver, you know? And I lived by that motto that whole time. So I would have a 45-minute set prepared. If one person showed up, 2 people or 5 people. And that's what I did like for months on end, you know, like I sat there when no one showed up. And that was like I feel like my start into becoming an artist, you know?
I mean, that makes sense. It really does when you think about it. If you saw a ticket or you're walking by a theater and you're like, oh, this guy's $5, you're like, you're either like, this guy, he's probably not worth my time to get in and watch this. It's like, yeah, it's $5, but you know, that's an hour of my time that I'm gonna have to waste if I wanted to go check this person out. But if it's like $20, then it's like, oh, well, who's this?
Right.
You know, they're playing here and it's $20. They must be legit, right? You're thinking like already you're getting thoughts in your head as far as that goes. Yeah, I love that. I've heard that before. I love that idea.
Yeah, and it makes sense. And it's just like also, I think you think about yourself differently, like when it comes to respecting your art, you know. And I feel like, yeah, that really helped. Another interesting thing that happened with these posters was like in the mornings, like around 6, 7 a.m., I would poster around the city, like the main streets in Toronto, like my face usually, and then like a quote or something, and I would switch it up like every week. And it was funny because like in the afternoon, I would sometimes hang out at a thrift store or just be downtown in Toronto, and people would recognize me from the posters as if I was a touring musician, and like I had like a promo company putting this stuff up.
That's rad.
And I would always play along, you know. People like sometimes like it was people would sometimes tweet. And I was like, yo, I saw WizTheMc at the thrift store, you know, and I had like 16 followers, you know, but like to them, because they saw it like that, they saw posters, you know, they were maybe from out of the country. And so that was like my first entry into like learning marketing and guerrilla marketing. So yeah,
that's awesome. So you take pictures with the people, like sign autographs at the poster. That's amazing. Well, they got to you early, right? Now you've got a huge fan base and you know, millions of streams, and look what, so they obviously knew, they felt something ahead of time.
Yeah.
They were the first ones there. With that though, so you were there for 4 months, you did those shows, and then what was the next like the next big, you know, milestone moment for you? Was that after you had gone back to Germany?
The next milestone was like, I went back to Germany, super excited about what I had experienced in these 6 months, you know? And now to your point of like, was my trip out of the country like an enlightening one? I would say, yeah, completely. Because what I realized, for me, it was a very specific thing where I had this artist, this rap persona kind of tucked inside of me, you know, like I was never the type, or at that time, at least, I wouldn't be around my family and I would be like, I'm going to be a rich, famous rapper. Like, I don't care what any of you say, you know, I kept that to myself and I expressed that in the studio and just in my own manifestations, you know? But when I came to Canada, quickly, like after 2 or 3 times of saying my real name, which is Sanela, I realized that people had a tough time saying it. And then, so I was living with these basketball players from the States, right? And they knew my artist name. And so they started calling me Wiz. And I was like, that's way easier to like introduce myself as. And so that Toronto was where Wiz was born, you know? Then I just was like, what's your name? Wiz. Oh, Wiz, you know, interesting name, you know? And I was like, yeah, I do music, you know? What's your artist name? WizTheMc. So like me as a person, like I was directly connected to the music. And so I was the musician. I would like, it didn't matter how big or small I was. That's all I did. And that's how I came to Toronto, you know? And in that way, I just grew this immense self-confidence in my art and in myself that like in Canada, I was Wiz. Like it was almost weird coming back to Germany and everyone just calling me a real name, you know? And so,
you're like,
so it was like, you know, and so I knew I wanted to come back. I wanted to build out Wiz. I wanted to bring that even further, you know? And so I got a work visa for a year work visa. I worked at a coffee shop and played open mics on the side. And that was my hustle for a year. And and then basically after a year or so of doing that, I think a year or two, and then like my first song got playlisted. Like I'm obviously skipping a bunch of steps, but a song got playlisted on Spotify while I was still releasing music independently.
And when you were in Toronto, or after so you went back to Toronto, correct? Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah,
For a
yeah.
year? And then after that, were you kind of still jumping back and forth after that year had happened, or during that year, is this when you got playlisted?
So okay, wait, just also to make the timeline clear for myself. I was like a half a year in Toronto, went back to Germany for half a year, then went back to Toronto for an entire year. And that's when I worked as a barista and played open mics and stuff like that, and just build out my network and friends over in Toronto. And nothing happened with Spotify then. I just like kind of grew a local fan base because I was playing like little shows that I was invited to because I met some people out of the arts and music community, and they were very welcoming. And so I would just show up to any event I could, and I would play shows there. Honestly, when I think of milestone moments, there was this one moment I was working as a barista, and this guy, like I was in a full apron, and this guy comes running into the coffee shop. He was like, "Yo, Wiz, it's so crazy to see you here, man. I was just listening to your music. Like I'm a big fan." You know, and I was like, "That's crazy." Like, you know, there wasn't any sign of that online, you know. I maybe had like, I don't know, a few thousand followers, you know. and, you know, a couple hundred or maybe 1,000 listeners a month on Spotify, you know, and that was really crazy to be like, whoa, you know?
Yeah.
I
Like
was
somebody recognized me from my music and actually came around
yeah,
to talk to me about it.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
big. That is big.
yeah. That was insane.
And well, everything. Yeah, obviously you have a huge record with 4 Minutes. Is that the one that got playlists that you're talking about, or is this even prior to that?
That was after.
Okay.
That was the craziest playlisted song.
Okay.
But no, it was Do What I Want. Do What I Want at the end of 2019.
Uh-huh.
That was I have to jump back even because I was in Berlin. I was in Berlin in 2019. I was I did this was a rap contest in Germany where you could like hand in your rap verses and then you got voted in or out like through Instagram, sharing stuff like that. And I basically like won the first round, and so I got invited to the festival and played on a stage there, and then also won like the rap, not battle but like performance.
Oh,
at
amazing!
The fest.
And that was in Berlin.
That was well, the festival was somewhere out. I don't even know where it is. Just like some place where festivals are outside the city, you know.
Okay, well, yeah, in Germany.
But in Germany, yeah.
Okay.
That was also around the time when I met Jacob, my manager.
Okay.
We've been working together since then, which has almost been what 2022, 3 years now.
Wow.
And yeah, it was crazy. It was really crazy because he like we had known each other for like a few weeks before that festival went down, and then I still don't know I don't still know how he made it, but like basically he was working at a fry stand at that festival, you know? And so I knew he was going to be there. That was before we like officially worked together. I still haven't asked him honestly why he was at the fry stand. Was it like after he found out I was going to play the festival, or he had the gig before to just be around like the festival, you know?
Yeah.
And so he was basically just there at like very pivotal moments, you know, and he was supporting and he was just watching what I was doing. And yeah, and after that and a few other releases, and he was like in, and then we started working together. And then on my flight back to Toronto, like a literal overnight success, like my first song got playlisted. Like I landed in Toronto and I had like 100,000 streams.
Whoa.
And it was like crazy. Yeah.
And this is still in 2019. So the pandemic hasn't hit at this point?
No.
Okay. So we're coming up on that though. What happened then?
So 2019, Do What I Want, got playlisted. Then after that, by the way, it's really cool to tell the whole story. Like it's taking me like through the whole stuff. I haven't done that in a while. So then I had like 2 or 3 other singles that made a New Music Friday, like my first New Music Friday. And by the end of the year, there were just a lot of emails from labels. And then by January 2020, I released a project with my homie Hugo from Berlin here called Growing Teeth, like 10 songs. And we got support from the DSPs for that too. And by that time, basically every label in the States had hit the emails, you know? And so then Jacob was like, I think we should start talking to them, you know? And yeah, then by February and March, we started Zoom calling, prepping to like go to the States, like in June, you know? And that was exactly when Corona hit. It was so new, like, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, we had like, I was supposed to go to LA in April 2020, you know?
Oh my gosh. And then it all stopped.
And then it all stopped. Yeah. And it was crazy. And then I was what I knew, one of the first people who signed in Corona. And that was so trippy. That was so trippy.
It must have been like this, right? You're on a Zoom call and you're like, okay, yeah, that's crazy.
It was really wild. It was really wild. And also like just the whole thing, because I got asked about it a couple times now in the past couple weeks about 4 Minute and how I felt when that happened. And the odd, not the odd thing, but the sad thing was that when that song blew up, like I remember it had 1 million streams in the first month. And that was when the protests happened, you know, and when everything went down in the States. And it was so weird because it was my biggest moment, you know, but there was this huge moment of the entire world, you know, everyone was plugged into, everyone knew what was happening. And so, you know, I was very like aware and conscious of the situation of the world more than ever, you know. And it was odd. Like on one side, I was really happy, you know, that that it was happening for me, but also it wasn't a time where I felt like I could just ignore everything else and like throw my hands up. You know what I mean? To be like,
yeah, it's an awkward time to be like celebrating, right? Celebrating a success like that. Unfortunately, I mean, which sucks because it's like how cool and how huge of a success is that, especially after all the years you've been working at it. And then it kind of falls in line with something where you're like, oh, well, I don't really feel enough, you know?
Yeah, yes, absolutely. And also I think it was just a great time to reflect and just to become aware and like also include like gratitude in a different way, you know, like knowing, and especially how the, you know, it more than ever, I feel like got showcased, you know, how Black people in America have been treated and just like their position, you know. I personally never experienced racism, so I can't speak for that, but I, you know, I know enough examples from friends or from people overseas, you know, but being like, oh wow, like here I am, which is like I see like in an odd way like a silver lining, you know, that, you know, me as a South African, you know, as a Black person, I have success in this time, you know, which for me then, ever since then, just going forward, I want to use my platform and use me and my music as a sign for hope for anyone, but especially, and also like, you know, people of color who feel neglected or feel overlooked, you know. And so it was a bittersweet, beautiful moment, you know, where I was like, wow, this is happening. It's happening to me. You know, I'm playing a part. I get to have a voice in this whole thing, you know, through music, through expression, through shows, you know. And so I think, you know, history should teach you something, you know, and I hope I learned something from it. And yeah, it was trippy. It was really trippy.
Did those feelings kind of come in? Is that what kind of influenced this new EP that just came out? Or
No,
feels
no,
nothing? Okay.
No.
So this is something totally different. You just kind of had that, and then that moment passed, and then now you clear your head and start working on the new record.
Yeah, well, I was just living that, like that time 2020 very presently, I felt like. And then I released the EP What About Now at the end of the year, my first EP with the label. And yeah, that was end of 2020. And then last year I started rolling the EP out, starting with Everything last summer. And yeah, now we're here.
And now we're here. Just put a video out. I mean, are the videos? I mean, obviously that's a big part of you and growing up is in shooting videos. Do you direct your own videos, or is it all? How does that work?
I haven't, like, I always come up with the concept and the idea, and then I kind of like see where the director's at. Sometimes they like just expand on my idea, and sometimes they're like, let's do something completely different, which I like. You know, I like artists who are honest and who are like, you know, I actually see this, you know, and I want to have pushback, you know, otherwise I don't really learn. I'll get my creative ego boosted, which is not a bad thing. But yeah, on this one, on the latest video, Premature Love, I worked with Adam Munnings again, who also shot the Catch Me video from last year. And he's dope. I really trust him and I really love what he's up to. And I gave him the idea and the concept, and he really like put like that style, that 70s style, that cinematography, that Wes Anderson style, which I'm a huge fan of. And yeah, we crushed it. Like in a day, we shot it, and I'm really happy about it. And it really brings across that feeling of the song.
Yeah, no, it's a rad video, and the record's amazing. What do you? Yeah, do you have plans to tour on it? I know you've talked about doing a bunch of shows and open mic nights prior to that, but like now, people are kind of going out and doing stuff to a certain extent. Like,
emphasis on kinda, you know.
Right.
I sadly had to cancel my shows for this tour. Like I had a Where Silence Feels Good tour lined up, but
Oh,
I couldn't play that this time around. But you know, shows is like one of, if not like the most important thing for music, you know, because that's how I fell in love with it, like through open mics, you know, showcasing myself and festivals, and on stage for me is like where the music lives. Everything else is the preparation for the show, you know, studio, press, videos, like to give people an idea, give people a glimpse of what it could feel like to be around the music when it's live, you know? Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. Well, hopefully you'll be able to reschedule that. I mean, that's unfortunate that that
Yeah.
had to happen, but I appreciate your time, Wiz. This has been so awesome. Thank you so much for telling me your story.
Thank you for having me, Adam.
Yeah, I have one more quick question for you. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
So I think if anyone watched to this point and heard my story, I think it's trust your gut and trust your stupid decisions, and most importantly, allow yourself, like truly allow yourself to look like a fool, or if you can hide it in some way, be a fool for yourself in your arts for an extended period of time. Like give yourself at least 2 to 3 years to actually like to be really bad at what you do. If it's painting, ballet or music, whatever it is, like allow yourself to be bad because your favorite artist was the worst artist ever and they embraced it, you know? And that's something honestly I still try now, doing anything, going into anything, allowing myself to look foolish, to be curious, and you know, always start from that student mindset, because when I didn't do that, I wasn't happy. I wasn't learning, you know? And so I think that's the source of a creative fulfillment. I feel like allowing yourself to be stupid and look stupid, that's the only way you can maybe look smart or good at it at some point.